Hey everyone, Christina Simmons from Say Yes to Holiness here. So I just wanted to share with all of you 3 opportunities that this Lenten season gives us. The first opportunity is for us to grow in detachment. And this is detachment from things, from activities, but most particularly ourselves. What is it that we have to set aside in our own life because it's getting in the way of our being able to grow closer to God and become more like Jesus? So, many times it's real easy to kind of, look and say, hey, I'm far too attached to my sports car, or I'm way too attached to the activities that I'm doing on the weekend, or, different things like that. But it's when we start looking deep in ourselves, that's where the whole desert of going into the desert of Lent comes into play. So when we're talking about things like this, it could be that we're far too attached to our health, for example. Is exercise bad? No, not at all. But when exercise is being done in order for us to get the praise of our friends or family, then that means that our vanity is coming into play. Or we're too attached to our comfort. We'd rather sit and binge watch our latest Netflix show versus spending time in relationship with God. And then, of course, our goals, our desires, our selfishness of where it's all about me. And so often we're not to those extremes. But the fact is that our selfishness and our pursuit of particular goals is really about us being able to, it's about our pride. It's about us being able to get the recognition of others and to be determined as or seen as a success. So these are all different ways that we need to grow in detachment, and Lent gives us the opportunity to do that through the 3 Lenten disciplines of prayer, fasting, and almsgiving, and I'll get to that in a moment. So what's the second opportunity? The second opportunity is for us to be able to grow in love of Christ. This is what we're supposed to be about. We're supposed to be about making Christ first in our lives. And this is where detachment makes it really possible for our love of Christ to grow. So very simply, this was a great analogy I heard. God doesn't want to reside in a soul where there's a bunch of bric-a-brac or trinkets or a bunch of stuff that's there that's getting in the way of him being able to be comfortable and to be present to us, because God does reside in us. For those of us who are baptized, the Holy Spirit is indwelling in us, and this is what we're supposed to be about in Lent. It's during springtime, new beginnings, and it's about us going and doing some spring cleaning out all the clutter that's getting in the way of our being able to grow in love of Christ. So that's our second opportunity. Our third opportunity is really something that seems counterintuitive, but it's very, very true. And our third opportunity is for us to be able to fulfill our desire for eternal happiness. Yeah, Jesus needs us to go all in, and we need to do that just like he did. He went all in throughout his life, but particularly on the cross in his suffering, passion, his passion and death. And we need to be mindful of that Jesus showed us how do we need to go about living our life. How do we need to go all in? And when we do this, when we are about something that's bigger than ourselves, when we're about loving others, which is when we grow in love of Christ, we grow in our capacity to love. And this is what brings us true fulfillment. This is what will bring us eternal happiness. Why? Because God says, come. He invites us into relationship with him. Come and abide in me always. And this is where we have that opportunity during Lent, is that when we are pursuing, when we're striving for that holiness, for our union with God, we are truly fulfilling our desire, which is deep within us, which God placed there for our eternal happiness. So those are the 3 great opportunities of Lent. So to grow in detachment, to grow in love of Christ, and to fulfill our desire for eternal happiness. So how does all this fit into the Lenten practices, Lenten disciplines of prayer, fasting, and almsgiving? Very simply, is that each of these is attached to one of the disciplines. So we grow in detachment through our fasting, through our setting aside those things, those activities, ourselves, and setting aside those things. We fast from those things. We grow in our love of Christ as we are in prayer. We spend time with him, he molds us, he shapes us, and he allows us to come to know him. And as we come to know him, we're able to deepen our love of him. So this is a part of where prayer comes in. And then almsgiving, how do we fulfill our desire by giving away? How do we fulfill our desire for eternal happiness by giving away things, by doing for others? Well, our eternal happiness is rooted in love. And when we love others, then we are becoming love ourselves. And when we are loving, when we're becoming the one who, like the one who loves us, then we find our true joy. Then we find our true happiness and fulfillment. And we have the opportunity to do this forever. So I hope that knowing these three opportunities, grow in detachment, grow in the love of Christ, and to fulfill our desire for eternal happiness, helps you be able to understand why we are going about these Lenten disciplines of prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. Have a wonderful and blessed day, and make sure to check out the SayYesToHoliness.com community or join the Say Yes to Holiness Today Facebook group. I'd love to see you in the community. We're having a lot of great activities, and we're also supporting each other each and every day to grow closer to God and become more like Jesus by giving each other the strength and the courage to be able to do whatever it takes to say no to the master of death. God bless.